everyone to the See You Shine Mixtape, the second of a series of 3. And this is an exciting new facet of the MAVlab Innovation Awards program. And the idea behind this is to show off some of our incredible winners and finalists from last year and kind of get you inspired about the stories you're telling as part of this year's awards program. And also to introduce some of our awesome partners that are designing some of the solutions that our councils are employing to help drive impact in their communities. And so today's session is about our community spaces and looking out, and it's not just about our communities, but it's about how we support our communities through programs and initiatives. It's about connection, it's about wellbeing, it's about storytelling. So I will move us along. Now, to kick off this session, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands we're joining and gathering here to have this discussion on. I'm currently in the city at the MAV offices, and that's in the City of Melbourne on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung peoples. And the City of Melbourne also covers the lands of the Boonwurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation. And I would like to recognise their continuing connection to lands, waters and culture. And I especially love here recognising the stories, traditions, cultures and aspirations of First Peoples who forged the path ahead. And today especially we're kind of honing in on that topic of stories and passing on stories and hopefully inspiring each other to adopt approaches that are working in our councils. Before we get into our stories, I really do want to take a moment to shout out all of our partners. You'll hear from some of them today, but without these guys, we wouldn't be able to champion local councils. And it's really critical that they are part of this journey with us and that our sector are continuing to develop solutions for our councils and communities. So big thanks to our partners. Now, this is the agenda. I'm going to spend 20 seconds on this slide, but we've got a really beautiful series of lightning talks for you today. And the idea of a lightning talk is a bit of a taster. I think of it like a cheese platter, have a little nibble, or, or if you're not a fan of cheese, it could be a delicious tofu or tempeh platter. But this is really about learning the start or getting just insights into certain programs that you can then continue to dive into or reach out to some of these speakers. We wanted to encourage you to bring your lunch. I've actually brought popcorn along and to just kind of sit back and relax and be entertained for these short presentations. So the first one I'm going to hand over to Christy at Mornington, Peninsula, Shire. But I would like to just remind anyone on the call, if you haven't already been aware, we've got 1 more week to go for the MAVlab Innovation Awards program. So feel free to nominate. So Christy, I'm going to hand over everyone to you and your capable hands, and we'll hear a little bit about Peninsula Tales.
Thank you. Can you see that slide now in front of you?
We can see the slide and the side panel.
So we don't need that as well. I'm going to
sometimes if you present in Teams, it lets you see your notes. It's a bit of a tricky.
Let me just see if I can start this from the beginning. Sorry, it was working before.
You know, Christy, this is awesome because we've all been there.
Just hit F5, Christy. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. We're seeing that.
Cool. We're also seeing your next slide, I think.
You're seeing my next slide.
Which I don't mind, just takes away some of the suspense.
It does. Look, we're just going to get on with it because we'll spend 5 minutes doing this. Okay, so I am Christy. I'm the social media lead at Mornington, Peninsula, Shire. And today I'd like to share our story of Peninsula Tales. So it was a communications initiative that went on to win the MAVlab Innovation Award last year, which we were very excited about. But this is really a case study about how storytelling helped us rethink the way we connect with our community, because while Peninsula Tales was a comms project, its real purpose was much bigger than that. Okay, let me chuck that out of the way. So our challenge was building trust in a noisy environment. So every local government has their challenges. For some, it's perception, maybe around crime or growth areas, development or service delivery. For us, one of our biggest challenges was trust with our community. They wanted us to stay in their lane. They didn't understand the breadth of what we do or why it should matter to them. So here is a few of our little tales. I'll start playing. Oh, sorry, I can't get this to working on 2 screens. Maybe if I do this. So you can see some of our little stories playing away here. Was our chatty cafe that was very popular. We got over 30,000 organic views. It was such a sweet story. Some of the things that the community might not do in our shelter and know about what our shelters do, and our Young Australian of the Year award. So through Peninsula Tales, we shifted from talking about council to showcasing our community. The examples on screen highlight the people, places, experience, and lesser known services that help make us unique. And by creating content people wanted to engage with, we were able to build stronger connections with our community and ultimately greater trust. We told stories about volunteers, environmental champions, artists, community groups, local businesses, and everyday residents making a difference. We embraced digital-first storytelling through video and photography, and by putting people at the centre of a story, we created what we felt was really authentic, relatable, and content worth engaging with. And we put it on our own channels. So we put it on our social media, our website. So we controlled the narrative. So why was that innovative? What made Peninsula Tales innovative wasn't new technology, a big budget, or a dedicated team. It was, in fact, delivered using existing resources, myself and 3 other people in the Shire. The innovation was a shift in mindset. We shifted the focus from projects and infrastructure to people, stories, and the often overlooked services that support our community every day. The result was a low-cost, high-impact approach that helped build community pride and connection. This is one of our most popular ones. Obviously, it's got a dog in it. This was Kenzie. She was our reading dog at our libraries for 7 years, and this was her retirement. She got more than 30,000 organic views. She had more than 700 reactions on Insta and Facebook, just all organic love, heaps of shares from our community. So the real success of Peninsula Tales isn't the award, it's the way it's changed how we communicate. Today we start from a different place. We ask, who is the person behind the story? What impact does this have on the community? Why should people care about it? Our content is now more community-centred, more visual and more story-led. Whether we're talking about wildlife conservation, libraries, community programs or advocacy campaigns, we look for the human story first. And that's us. Thank you.
Kirsty, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. You were telling me when we were catching up that there's no shortage of stories and a backlog of people to get out and talk to and interview for this project. So that's incredible.
100%. Yep.
So everyone should follow them on Instagram or Facebook. The stories that come out are absolutely inspirational. All right, we're going to hand over to Roy next from Ylap.
Thanks, Christy. That was really cool. I'm going to think about Chatty Cafe in my community, and I don't know if we could do something similar. Hi, everyone. I'm actually here with Darcy, who's going to give the presentation. Darcy, where are you? Hello.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to screen share right now. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool.
So the very quick intro to Ylap before I hand over to Darcy. Some of you might know us. We're a not-for-profit consultancy and we are obsessed with youth empowerment and youth leadership and youth voice. And we're really interested in working with anybody who wants to move farther along that line of youth participation. And we love working with councils. That's where the wheels hit the ground, road, rubber, whatever. So anyway, the project that we really wanted to share is one that was done with a conglomerate of councils as a part of the Gippsland Public Health Unit. And I brought along Darcy, who is one of the young people who worked on that project and is now working with Ylap in a deeper way to tell the story of this great project.
So what I wanted to talk to everybody about today is our partnership with almost every Gippsland council, if not every Gippsland council, where we met the challenge of how to ensure young people could access youth-led resources and relevant information on vaping in a way that makes them feel like they actually felt supported to quit. I'm not sure if you knew, but Gippsland has the highest smoking rates in Victoria at 19.3% of adults. And so understanding this challenge meant understanding Gippsland itself. That's where I'm actually from. And if you didn't know, Gippsland is bigger than Switzerland. So the sheer size of the campaign meant a one-size-fits-all approach to vaping prevention wouldn't really work too well. What we needed was a campaign grounded in local context, and to co-design it with young people that it aimed to reach, we knew how, when, and where campaign assets would make the most impact. So that brings us to our two cohorts of young people. So first, we had our co-design committee, who shaped the direction and messaging of the No Filter Real Stories Gippsland Vape Prevention campaign. And then we also had the content creators, who continued to shape the messaging while bringing the campaign to life. You can see our timeline here, and all of our Gippsland councils that we worked with. And it was because of these young people that we knew which ways were the most effective to reach those in rural areas as well. And they really kind of pushed us to make a move for physical media and public transport advertising. And some young people even told us the routes to advertise on. And I remember hearing a lot about Mid-Valley specifically and the Nuji pub throughout our sessions as well. I'm sure that at least one of you have seen a Nuji pub sticker on the back of a car. Cool. So here is our campaign assets. All of these were created with young people in the region. You can see our video assets, and then we also have our physical sticker sheet, which we paired a young person from Gippsland with a graphic designer from Ylap to create. And then we also have our physical posters that I'm pretty sure we still have up in our office today. We also, since this, have designed billboards and bus advertisements as a part of a staggered rollout across the region to continue the impact of the campaign. When the campaign was launched as well, there was also external, local and statewide media opportunities, including radio and television. And it kind of just proved to us the campaign had moved just beyond our social media platform. And yeah, this project strengthened youth voice, it built local capacity and leveraged collective impact across the region by designing with young people instead of for them, by centering young people through the place-based co-design, growing local creative talent, and strengthening regional collective efforts. Through the project, one message came through very, very clearly, and it was that young people didn't want to be lectured, they wanted to be listened to. And this campaign and campaigns designed without their input felt irrelevant and easy to ignore. And involving young people in shaping this message wasn't just a nice to have, it was the difference between a campaign that connected and one that wouldn't. So we don't have any formal impact statements or findings as of yet. However, GRPHU, who is our Gippsland Public Regional Health Unit, are working with Monash University right now to further examine the value of the campaign. GRPHU and local councils are also rolling out a regional comms campaign in addition to this campaign, which will commence from July, including the launch of a No Filter Real Stories Gippsland website, where all of these assets will be public use, as well as billboard advertising, bus advertising, paid social media, and further engagement with local networks, specifically sporting clubs. But everything that we've heard so far has remained very positive, and all of their councils have been forwarding a lot of anecdotal feedback to us as well. And that's us. So I just wanted to say thank you for listening, and I want to hand over to Sayanti from the Merri-bek Democracy Lab.
Thank you so much, Darcy and Roya. Beautiful presentation and great work. We need to do so much work here in Merri-bek with our young people as well, and vaping is coming up as an issue. All right. So I'm Shayanti from Merri-bek City Council. I work here as Social Cohesion Officer, and a big shout out to my manager, Nalika, here for coming on and cheering us. I'm here with our community partner, the amazing Emanuela Savini. Emmy, you are there? Yes, and we'll talk to you about our Democracy Lab, for which we won the Connector Award for Community Connection and Cohesion last year. So if you're wondering what is the Democracy Lab, when I started 5 years back at council, that was my question too, because I hadn't had the opportunity to attend one. But now I know, having been part of it for the last 5 years and a bit more. So I'll share with you and start by sharing my screen, which I forgot to do. Is it coming through? Yeah. Okay, so the lab is underpinned by the principle of self-determination for community, by community. And it's funded through our social cohesion plan in partnership with the Public Value Studio. And it's designed for anyone who lives, works, or studies in Merri-bek. And it's, of course, completely free. It is a 6 to 8 week program running, say, from 1.5 to 2 hours, both online and in person format. It started in 2019, was fully in person, and then COVID hit. For the next couple of years, it ran fully online till we started bringing back some of the sessions in person. And this year, half the sessions have been in person and the other half online. So what really is the purpose of the lab? So simply put, it supports the residents to build confidence, skills, and connections they need to take action on issues that matter to them, to shape their local community, to deepen their engagement with community life. And what I really love about the lab is that it really encourages people who are new to community-led work. So it's really for everyday people who want to make a difference. I'll now pass over to Emmy to talk through the next bit. Can't hear you, Emmy. Still can't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm worried there's some iPods in another room. AirPods, sorry, iPods. Showing my age. They're with us, guys.
I thought that was working. Sorry.
It's working now.
Oh, cool. Okay, fine. So you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So just quickly, I guess the topics that we cover through the lab, we really go through a process of, well, we start with First Nations first and really encouraging people to think about how the history of places and spaces influences how people will engage with self-determination, but also any kind of community-led action that we're working on. And then we go through a series of sessions that really look at how people might identify community need and design community-led projects in a way that really centres where the community's energies and interests are and is really shaped by where the momentum for community is. We go through a series of sessions where we really try and connect people with local organisations or people doing similar things in the community, so that people come out of the lab with a really strong network of local possible collaborators or connections. And then one of the key parts is also understanding council, understanding how council makes decisions, how people can influence council decision making, and also kind of connecting them with council staff who can be an incredible resource beyond what, you know, the traditional assumptions around only grant making. So it really is a chance to connect community members with council staff. As part of the kind of when we invite speakers, we always invite people who are working in the local community on projects, because that sense of connection and networking is really important to us. And we also have designed it so that it is designed by a community reference group. So we go through a co-design process each year, and that community reference group is made up of community members, but usually the majority of participants of the community reference group are lab alumni. So people are participating in the lab, but then they have an ongoing connection to the lab through designing successive lab sessions or years, but alumni are also involved as co-facilitators. So for the last 5 years now, we've had lab alumni co-facilitate the programs, and they're very involved in the process overall. In terms of what the outcomes of the lab are, survey data has consistently shown that it delivers meaningful and lasting outcomes for participants. People, as I said, build really strong connections with others in their local area, and I've seen many go on to collaborate with each other and support each other. They consistently say how they grow in confidence and their skills to get more involved in community life. And, you know, some of the Ylap alumni have gone on to just achieve extraordinary community-led work. They're often in the community awards, winning community awards, or doing some incredible work in other municipalities as well. And one of the things that I think is really special is that they keep reconnecting with each other. So we've been running since 2019, and we run lab alumni events. People from 2019 keep coming as well. There's a real sense of community and a community of practice amongst the lab, which I think makes it very special indeed. I'll hand back to Shayanti.
Thanks, Amy. Captured beautifully. And I think the relevance of the lab and why it matters is because we are living in a time when people feel disconnected, when they feel like they don't have a voice, they feel their decision making happens somewhere else, somewhere distant, somewhere they can't reach. So the lab really changes that. It places community at the center, empowers everyday residents to become active agents of change in their own community. And it's really not about the grand gestures, it's the small, meaningful actions, showing up, building relationships, believing that we all have the power to shape the place where we live, work, and spend our times in. I'm going to share with you some of the quotes from our lab participants, how they have really experienced it. And this really is what the Democracy Lab is about. We think of democracy and just voting every few years. I feel it's about the ongoing participation, about being part of the conversation, making sure that people's voices are heard. And the lab makes this possible. It's accessible, practical, effective, and it has been working for us. And we are really proud of it. Thank you. I think I would now hand it over to Aisling from City of Greater Dandenong,
Thank
who
you
will
so
talk
much.
to us.
What a great
about-
initiative.
Thank
I'm
you.
thinking, hi everyone, Aisling Fagan from the leadership team at Greater Dandenong Youth and Family, Greater Dandenong City Council. It's a great pleasure to present this project. Unfortunately, I couldn't have a young person present, just that time's passed. So well done, Darcy. You're doing some terrific work down there with your team. Now let me just share my slides. Can you see that okay? I'll just make it bigger. All good? So the hashtag body image project, filtered body image project won the Community Voice Award. And this is something that we're exceptionally proud of because young people were front and centre of designing this campaign right throughout, which is one of the, I guess, outcomes or strengths I'm going to talk about in a minute. So what it was about was really around young women creating content for other young women to explore body image and social media and looking at responding at times to the really unrealistic appearance ideals, both online and how for many they can shape their identity and their self-image. So really what we wanted to try and do with this project was to build awareness amongst, it was specifically around young women. We worked with one of our local schools to challenge some of those stereotypes and I suppose really encourage young women to be discerning and think critically about what they're consuming online. So the project model that we used is one that we've used a few times on contemporary youth issues, which is where we bring in a subject matter expert. So in this case, it was Butterfly Foundation. And we build young people's understanding of these topics so that they've got a clear appreciation of what are some of the, causal factors that give rise to some of these challenges. And we then walk alongside them, if you like, to give them all the sort of skill building necessary to help them craft and co-design whatever the youth-focused peer-based response might be. So in this instance, not dissimilar to the Gippsland project, it was looking at social media campaign and building collateral. So in terms of our community partners, I think this one is really key for this project. We worked with the local secondary college, which was Callista in our community, which is an all-female school. We engaged Butterfly Foundation to really provide that really important foundation, if you like, on a really important topic. And we also partnered with Chisholm Institute. Chisholm Institute's a local TAFE provider and they run a design course. So what we wanted to try and do is really embed youth participation from start right through to finish. The school wanted all of their Year 8 students to participate in the Butterfly Foundation session, which ran for the day. So that again was a building block to support young women's understanding of some of the issues. And then on that particular day, that group started to, I suppose, curate some of the key messages that they think were really important to share with their peer group. After that day, there was probably about 35 peers that decided to form the project group. So over a course of 5 weeks, they continued to sort of refine and build on some of that messaging, and we had key people come in and sort of support them around their learning about how to fully exploit a social media campaign. So we had social media professionals. And what ended up happening was that over that period of 5 weeks, we really kept checking in with subject matter experts, the Butterfly Foundation, to ensure that the content was both accurate and safe, so that we had those bumper rails up for young women as we explore this particular topic. In terms of roles, we acted as the backbone, so we continued to coordinate the project, but we didn't just consult young people. That's probably the key thing. We worked alongside them at every stage. So what we're most proud of, I guess, with this project is youth participation was continued throughout, not just at one particular point. Young people acted as the leaders of the content that they created, and speaking to peers really increases, I guess, the authenticity and the impact of the project. In terms of outcomes and impact, we engaged over 165 young people through the course of the whole project, and that even included the Callista students developing a design brief where we transported them out to Frankston TAFE to actually do their pitch of their required brief to the vocational major students who were Year 11 design students. So really trying to embed that learning through the whole project duration. And so again, it was really that authenticity that the young people were telling the other young people, this is what we're kind of conceiving, can you bring these images to life? The campaign reached in its first iteration more than 15,000 people online. We developed a toolkit, a community toolkit, so that there was a legacy from the project, which we shared with schools. We sent through the YACVIC group so that we could continue to sort of proliferate some of that messaging and get the social media content out there. In terms of evaluation and feedback, particularly from the young women who were directly involved, we definitely had some reported shifts in how young people think about body image, about how they're a bit more discerning about what they're consuming online, and also about physicality, around looking at what their bodies are actually capable of, importantly. Key learnings, it's really about young people having agency, not just brief moments of involvement. We definitely, I know we talk about it all the time, but co-design absolutely leads to stronger and more relevant outcomes. Partnerships are the cornerstone of some of this work, and we really need young people leading the conversation. That way the message is authentic and the impact is stronger. And I was going to keep sharing some of the, apologies, I'll just quickly flick through. I won't take too much time, but I think the amazing thing about this is all young people's creativity and thinking behind the messaging. And we had community feedback to us to say, my daughter really related to some of the images that were presented. And I love the messages in the bottle, love your opinion, love your body, not the opinions. Really looking at, as I said, focusing on being discerning with what sort of social media you consume. And I believe I'm handing back to you now, Gemma.
You are, Aisling. That was absolutely incredible. I love the strong theme of co-creating council communication assets. I think that's amazing. Now we've got one more speaker to go, and then we're gonna head into some Q&A. So please put your thinking hats on if you wanted to ask some of our speakers any extra questions. But I'm really thrilled to invite Alistair along from Choosewell, who are a partner to run the local government employees health scheme. And I think what's so important about this project is that council workers have to take care of themselves, and they're the ones that need to remain resilient and strong to deliver these programs. And this program directly supports council employees. So Alistair, over to you.
Thanks, Gemma, and thanks very much for holding this today. I'll see if I can get mine right. Sorry, I don't know if everyone can see that.
Today, we've got some cursed slide situations, but we've got some beautiful graphics on screen. So I reckon take us away, Alistair.
There we go. We'll just use that one. So thanks very much for your time, everyone. My name is Alistair Forbes. I work for a company called Choosewell HealthLink. Basically what we're all about is providing employees or corporates and their employees with tailored employee health plan arrangements that take the guesswork out of health insurance. So I'm sure we all have at one stage in our life had to look through our insurance policies, and health insurance is no different to any other. It can be a very convoluted, complicated process to navigate. It can be something I think that a lot of us put off because of that. And it can be a very expensive exercise because we delay it. So basically, Choosewell has, in cooperation with GMHBA and the MAV, put together an arrangement which we call the Local Government Employee Health Plan. This arrangement has been in place for quite a while. We've had this in place since 2010. And really it was designed for that exact reason. We realized that council staff and their families were in desperate need of a one-stop shop to help them take the guesswork out of health insurance. When you look at the industry itself, we have a very strong public health system, which is a very good thing in Australia. It's something that we should definitely keep around. There is still a need, however, for people who would like to use private health insurance to, say, have the surgery done sooner. So when people decide to make that purchase, it's roughly about 44% of Australians in the country at any given time that go, well, I need to look at something private so I can have this surgery sooner, but it's too hard to navigate. I don't understand what I need. I don't understand what level of cover, I always equate it to the metaphor of an umbrella. And often what tends to happen is we all rush out and buy the most expensive umbrella when we didn't need that at the end of the day. We tend to all have busy lives. I can see from all the presentations here today that there's a lot of people in this call with exceptionally busy lives. And so we are quite time poor. And to boot with all of that, you do also sometimes have out-of-pocket experiences there when you land up having those elective surgeries in the form of hospital account excess or medical gaps. So our role in the arrangement was and always has been to provide a peace of mind offering to staff where they can review their cover with us. It's non-obligational. We've provided probably over, I would say, between 8,000 to 10,000 employees across all the councils here in Victoria as well as Tasmania. We look after roughly 100 councils and water corporations in total in this arrangement. And since its inception, we've assisted over between 8,000 to 10,000 people with reviewing their cover and making sure that they're adequately insured for what they require. What we also did, though, and this is the exciting part of the arrangement, is we realized that when we have these unplanned elective surgeries that creep up on us, often you've taken a policy that has a higher excess level. And so what tends to happen then is when you have the surgery, you've got to shell out the excess that you have on the elective surgery at that time, which you pay to the hospital. And so what we put in place with the MAV and with GMHBA is an excess refund program. And that's really the backbone of this arrangement. It's not just providing you with the correct insurer or the correct umbrella, I should say, okay, but it's also making sure that when you land up going in for that elective surgery, you've got that excess refund coming back to you. So you're out of pocket, say 30 to 60 days, but you know that you'll get that $500 excess back, provided you've been on that arrangement for longer than a year. For the younger families without the elective surgery, face a corporate discount, which now offers up to 5% depending on how people pay for it. So basically, by putting something like this in place, we've really helped quite a few staff across all the councils with claiming in excess. And when we quantify that since the 2010 period when we started, it's in excess of about $2 to $2.5 million that have been refunded to staff and their families in the form of excess refund claims. So it's an arrangement we're quite proud of. It's something that we enjoy doing. We love helping people out with their excesses and refunding them. It's something I think that will be around for a very long time. The arrangement has grown strength from strength, and we continue delivering on that commitment to the members in the pool, and hope to obviously engage with the councils to ensure that employees are aware of this and that they can actually join on this arrangement should they wish to. That's our call to action in case anyone's interested in getting hold of me. I've kept it short and sweet, Gemma, so I'll hand over to you now for the Q&A.
You nailed it. Thanks, Alistair. So 5-minute lightning talks mean that we're short and sharp. We've got plenty of time. I've already seen some questions be answered in the chat, Roya. You're straight on it. Thank you. Some of those questions are coming through about how do we engage communities? Where are the complexities when we work across multiple councils? I had a question in my head about remuneration and how we kind of incentivize people to get involved that maybe are too busy and are actually the voices we want to be a part of these programs. But I want to open it up. Feel free to come off mute or pop your hand up and kind of kickstart the Q&A. Alistair, I can still see your screen actually, just before we...
Sure, let me stop sharing that. Thank you.
No pressure. I probably had the power to do that, but I'm not as tech savvy as I pretend to be. Darcy, do you want to share your question that you've just put in the chat? I'd love to hear you ask it.
Sorry, I think that was an answer to...
Nalika's question.
Yeah.
That was amazing. No, we love it. Ylap have such an incredible depth of expertise in engaging young people. So I do encourage councils to reach out and get involved. Can I ask, with the Merri-bek Democracy Lab, in terms of engaging, a diverse cohort across multiple years, there would have been learnings year on year. What did you find? Were there questions around like, well, we're not engaging these kinds of voices that we really want to be participant and that we really want to empower with the skills to then influence council? How did you attract those voices, or what kinds of campaigning did you do to get those people in the room?
Sharon, do you want to? We can both answer this, I guess. I mean, it's multifaceted. I think the thing that strikes me is because we've been going for so long and because we have that continuous connection with alumni, we've got, like, I've forgotten now, over 100 and something people that have done the lab in Merri-bek. And so a lot of it is through word of mouth. We do have a lot of people that come, that have participated in the lab and then will share with their network, people they meet, or, they might meet at a different event and say, you should really be part of this. And even at the start, we really encourage that word of mouth, because not everyone will sign up for something like this unless they're encouraged, unless they're told, you've got something that would really be able to contribute, and that we welcome people that don't have any experience at all. We make it super easy to apply. Don't ask very many questions at all, and we follow up with a friendly phone conversation. Shanti, did you want to add to that? I know that a lot of work gets done through council as well.
So we do promotions via the council social media. We have several service provider networks, inroads into our wonderful neighborhood houses. So apart from the word of mouth, we use all of those channels of communication. We have another program called Community Connectors, and we have, coming from having done work within the communities myself, we have different way of reaching out to communities via their trusted social media, and community leaders, sometimes just people who are connected through to their communities. And I think, as Emmy was saying, it's more the word of mouth. If someone's actually participated and know a little bit about the program, they can share their experience and encourage others to come onto it.
It's incredible work. And I guess our next question, I wanted to kind of flip over to that lens of social media campaign and campaigns that come out of council, the storytelling. When you think of council communications, you might not first think of co-designed images about, body image health and wellness, or you might not think about good news stories, and really fantastic reels. So I'm really curious to speak to Aisling and Christy and get a bit of an insight from you about how you advocated for that, and potentially have other councils reached out to try and learn from you or get it happening in their own councils. Do you want to go first, Ashley?
Sure. I think a lot of it has been building a relationship with our media and comms team over some period of time. So we've committed to meet sort of monthly every six weeks, just to look at the sort of content that young people are keen on. Obviously, traditionally, young people aren't so keen in engaging with council's channels. So it's really been fostering, a bit like Roy's earlier comment, getting rubber on the road, building and engendering a trusting relationship to know that what we're actually developing is grounded in evidence base, has the bumper rails, and that they can see that over time, the quality of what we're producing, co-designed with young people, is really strong content for community consumption. But really, I think we're very fortunate as a council that we have a very supportive council on youth voice. And I think sometimes it's about being able to have that support to champion contemporary youth issues, which are often framed through the lens of an adult, but young people don't get the opportunity to be able to speak freely and openly about some of the ways that those challenges can affect them. So I'd say really just about consistently working alongside others in the organisation and engendering a trusting relationship to know that what's being produced is done in consultation, and it does have, as I said, that evidence base and that rigour behind the messaging.
Christy, what are your thoughts on getting those good news stories in around the other critical council comms?
Absolutely. So I'll be frank, our customer satisfaction survey 5 years ago, out of the 79 councils, we were the worst. Our community didn't think we were doing a good job, sort of across anything. We have an aging, very conservative demographic down here, and they felt anything that was considered woke, they really weren't interested in hearing, and we actually got a lot of hate. So we would charge, the comms team at the time were charged with improving our reputation, basically, and improving community sentiment. So that's sort of how it all started. These little things that maybe we don't talk about a lot, that seem like the small little pebbles when you've got these big boulders, these big consultations that you have to go out with. But actually, this is what our community wants to hear about. They don't want to hear about other things. So we are focusing now on being very authentic in our storytelling, making sure that whatever we're talking about, we have a right to talk about it. We try and explain council's role in while we're talking about it. And yeah, just sharing, celebrating our community members if they, they've done something incredible for our, our volunteers. Also, we've done things on maternal, child and health and all the things they like that, because people don't always come into contact with council regularly through their life. So we're trying to open up what we do so there is interest there. And thankfully, sentiment has improved remarkably. We've done 90 of these stories now, a bit more than 90. And our latest customer satisfaction survey is up again. So we're hoping that's part of it. We're hoping, that sentiment is improving due to this.
That's amazing, Christy. I think it's very difficult sometimes to capture those metrics that tell us about the rippling impacts of some of your storytelling and campaign work. If someone might see a story, might not even like or subscribe, engage it or share it, but it might stay in their mind and it might then encourage them to engage on something. So keep up the good work and know that we're all behind you. Roy, I'd love to hear Aisling's response, although I see there's a response in the chat already. You beat me to it. You're so efficient.
Now there's a conversation happening. I was just going to say, Aisling, that we're doing separate work, 2 different projects with our watch on that topic of modern masculinity, toxic masculinity, etc., for boys and young men, and it's been really interesting. And it's such an education for me about how much the body positivity messaging has just missed boys completely, and it's such a big issue and a huge gap. So it will be really exciting to see what you guys come up with in that area.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a difficult decision to pare it right back and just focus gender lines, just because of the complexities and the different factors that give rise. But absolutely, there's a desperate need for us to focus our attention on young men also.
Yeah, I mean, totally separate kind of
Yep.
root causes and all that kind of stuff,
Yep.
but really cool. I'm going to
Yep.
keep my eyes peeled for that.
Thank you.
And if I could give a quick shout out to another program by City of Greater Dandenong in a similar space, I believe it's called Proud to Be, which was also a finalist for a Wellbeing Award, I think it was. I've got the log of awards in my head. Yes, great.
Yeah, so looking at LGBTIQA plus through the lens, culturally diverse lens, and again, another co-design with young people from the community through video output. So yeah, thanks, Gemma.
It's very impressive work. Councils do so much innovation. I think that the awards program is such a good opportunity for the MAV to tell the stories and kind of, what's the word, be the cheerleaders, I guess, to shine the spotlight on you when you potentially don't have the time, capacity, or you're just humble. Our councils are very humble. They don't see a lot of the work they do as innovative, and it really is. Nalika.
Thanks. Those are some really great examples. My question is to Aisling and Christy about the comms lens. I think often comms is used for reputation management and telling their own story. What's kind of the secret to getting communication teams on board to support campaigns like what you've talked about? Because it's often,
Yeah, I think, so I'm in the comms team, so I might have a slightly different perspective. I think it's really important to listen to your comms team because they've got a good idea about how to frame the messaging. So Peninsula Tales has spread now across to everything that we do on our channels, how we frame it. So if you have something that's particularly difficult to talk to your community about that could be controversial, there are ways and means that can be done. So, talk to your comms team. We've just had a restructure now. We've got marketing in that as well. So we have those brains that go, let's talk about it this way. Let's frame it this way. We have a right to speak about often, to stay in your lane stuff. Like, why are you talking about, say, some of what Aisling was talking about? That would be a very hard sell to the community I have to speak to, but it can be done if we frame it in the right way. So yeah, trust your comms people, get on, chat to them. They will want to tell these stories. Believe me, we're forever looking for content.
I love that we have both perspectives of the comms team and then the SME, kind of like, come and tell my story. I get it on LinkedIn. Why haven't you shared it? Aisling, how did you said you had a great relationship with your comms team. You got them on board early. Yeah. And I know some of these artifacts didn't go out through channels. They were probably physical as well.
Look, I guess to echo Christy's point, I think collaboration's key. And I would say that it hasn't always been, an easy journey with comms. And that's because they have their brief. And we know with political lens, we always have to be very careful about how we kind of run the line between what might be seen as a little bit controversial versus trying to address a particular issue. Probably a good example to share, separate to body images, at the moment we're looking at a discrete piece of work around nitrous oxide, and the community is, quite upset naturally about the high uptick in disposal of canisters. And so we're looking at working with young people about how can we balance the approach of health messaging versus perceptions of community safety, and not being perceived that we're condoning use by looking at a harm minimisation approach. And so that's a, you know, it's a longer journey. We could do something, but we want to be really careful about how we do it. And that's where our comms team, I guess, has that expert lens around what's the community appetite, how do we approach it. And I guess I often say to staff, even with the Proud to Be project, sometimes you can't take a sledgehammer at something. Sometimes you just have to slowly chip away and keep sending the messaging to slowly build a picture. And that's kind of how we've approached it. We've got quite a conservative community. So how do we bring community along in information awareness and the like? So that's one to watch out for. Hopefully we can nominate that one. But yes, it's definitely a tricky road, and naturally for youth services, sometimes it's how do we get the positive stories out about young people, because the media narrative is often what young people aren't doing. And we know, like Darcy and his group and our group, there's some incredible young people trailblazing and doing incredible work. That's what we want to highlight. Maybe
Absolutely.
some stories for you, Christy.
Absolutely. It's incredible. And I think what's worth remembering is that, you know, social media and media, these are just sort of channels and several touch points, but a touch point is also that meeting, you know, the council meeting, or a workshop around deliberative engagement, and thinking of Merri-bek Democracy Lab, you know, having a physical container, as well as, you know, a program that invites people to come together and learn and be educated, because some people aren't engaging with our social media channels, or, you know, aren't following councils on Instagram. I know at the MAV, we're very few Instagram followers, but we have great content, so you should all follow us on Instagram. But, you know, they're just kind of several touch points. And stay tuned. The MAV will soon be dropping via MAVlab a community connections report, which is kind of looking at all of the wide range of ways that community and council have touch points, and all of the opportunities to kind of build and deepen trust and understanding, and support councils to tell the right stories and deliver the right services, and, you know, meet the needs of their community. So stand by for that deep insights report, which is consulted with over 200 people in Victoria. Are there any other questions for our speakers? I was going to finish it about 5 minutes early. That's my favorite thing to do, to give you time to kind of go through the internet to your next meeting. And look at that, we just got the 5 minutes. That's a beautiful comment. Thank you, Emmy. I think I might call. Thanks, Roya. Thank you, everyone, for your presentations, sticking to the time limit. I really appreciate you. I hate cutting people off. Incredibly informative. Good luck with the rest of your days. You know where to find us if you want to reach out for anything, and I'll send the recording and links around to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Gemma. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.
See you.